Morning, everyone. Focus Daily. As usual, I'd like to begin this show and every show by giving all praise due to the Most High in the name of Jesus Christ. It is through Him that I am being sent with this truth as a chance for redemption and mercy for the world, Jew and Gentile. All right, let's get into it. Today, we're speaking about the institution of the Virginia Department of Vital Statistics, a institution that was created by Walter A. Plecker. Once again, Walter A. Plecker. After instituting the Virginia Department of Health and collecting birth records for 10 years straight, the Department of Vital Statistics was instituted. Now, the purpose of both of these departments was to collect identities, the identities of the Afro-American, the indigenous people of this land, the children of God, in order to transfer those identities to foreign entities who were constantly invading this land. And at this point in the early 1900s, the invasion had reached an all-time high. As many as 9 million immigrants landed upon these shores. And once reaching America, they needed new identities. Their whole purpose was to claim the identity of the indigenous people, to claim the identity of the Afro-Americans, the children of God, in order to reap the benefits and to enjoy the birthrights of the Afro-Americans, which was given to them directly from God. See, they pulled the old switcheroo. They put themselves in our place. So, like I mentioned in the last show, while they arrived with names like Johansson and Gudisberg and Gorbachev, once arriving here, they received names like Johnson and William and Williamson, for example. Now, today we're just going to delve a little bit into the history of Walter Plecker and the Department of Vital Statistics. Let's go. Reading time. Get to it, people. What we got here? Well, first, we're going to go over an actual letter that was written by Walter Plecker from the Bureau of Vital Statistics, State Board and Health. A letter was written to Robert H. Cheatham, Miss Robert H. Cheatham. Dear Madam, we have a report of the birth of your child on July 30th, 1923. Skipped a little ahead, but bear with me. Signed by Mary Gilden, midwife. She says that you are white and that the father of your child is white. We have a correction to this certificate sent to us from the City Health Department at Lynchburg, the Vital Health Department, in which they say that the father of this child is a Negro. This is to give you warning that this is a mulatto child and you cannot pass it off as white. See, what they're doing right now is introducing the color of law, using words like white, brown, red, yellow, black. They take away the natural indignation, the natural legislation, the natural identity, and replace them with a color. Black being a color of nothingness. So basically, they took us from the children of God and reclassified us to black, to nothing. Let's move on. We have a correction to this certificate sent to us from the city health department at Lynchburg, in which they say that the father of this child is a Negro. This is to give you warning that this is a mulatto child, and you cannot pass it off as white. A new law passed by the last legislature says that if a child has only one drop of Negro blood in it, it cannot be counted as white. You will have to do something about this matter and see that this child is not allowed to mix with white children. It cannot go to white schools and can never marry a white person in Virginia. That's a strong word right there. It is an awful thing. Yours truly, State Register, Walter A. Plecker. Dear Madam, this is to notify you that it is a penitentiary offense to willfully state that a child is white when it is colored. You have made yourself liable to very serious trouble by doing this thing. What have you got to say about it? Yours truly, Walter A. Plecker. WAP. All right. So that was an actual letter written to an individual by Walter A. Plecker, reinforcing his new racial integrity act that he was introducing and reinforcing this new color of law legislature. Once again, the point of all of this was to reclassify us from the children of God to nothing, which legally, the legal term for nothing is black. All right, now we're going to read a little bit of a Washington Post article. Death of the devil. The white supremacist got hit by a car. His victims were celebrated. Whether that is true or not, that's not the point of this letter. I doubt it. They just removed him from the scene once he completed his mission. Let's read on. He built his career on the systematic oppression of blacks and Native Americans, becoming one of the country's most influential white supremacists. For more than 3 decades, from 1912 until 1946, Walter Ashby Plecker used his position as head of Virginia's Bureau of Vital Statistics to champion policies designed to protect what he considered a master white race. All of this was instituted from the state of Virginia, from the company of Virginia, the Virginia Company, from the Bank of Virginia, no matter how you want to look at it. He was the father of the state's Racial Integrity Act of 1924, which designated every person in that state as either white or colored and criminalized interracial marriage. Once again, reclassification. And my purpose is to bring this truth to the people so they can come back home to God and understand how we found ourselves in these positions, and by not listening to God and following his laws and his decrees, we fell from grace. Plecker insisted that any person with a single drop of Negro blood couldn't be classified as white, and he refused to acknowledge that Native Americans existed in the Commonwealth, effectively erasing their legal identity. See, in actuality, how can I put this? White is defined as pure, righteous, holy. Black is defined as nothing. So once again, they took our identities. Initially, we were the pure and the holy. And in order to replace us and steal our birthright and institute and begin the eugenic holocaust of the Afro-Americans, they reclassified us into a new legal identity, which was nothing. Then, on August 2nd, 1947, 1 year after his retirement, we ain't gonna read that. That's fake. Lies. They just removed him and gave him a new identity, and he moved on. Dr. Plecker, 86, rabid racist, killed. Okay, we can get by that. Plecker spent most of the years of his life in a vain effort to convince the nation and the world of the dire effects of interracial marriage between persons of the colored and white races. The story read, he was still at auto accident. All right. The auto accident really ain't the point of this article. Of the point of me introducing this article. Let's see. All right, enough about them lies. All right. Let's read a little bit into this. In a 2015 Washington Post story about the issue, Steve Atkins, chief of the Chickahominy tribe, smiled when he talked about Plecker's death and said that was good for us. He told us we had no right to exist as people, said Powhatan Red Cloud Owen, a Vietnam veteran who belongs to the fake Indians. Okay. Part of the reclassification was the replacement. So they brought in individuals who claimed to be actual Indians, but really they was Asian immigrants who crossed over at Alaska. We spoke more about that earlier in a video entitled The Asian Invasion. All right, enough of that. All right, here we go. In 1935, Plecker wrote to Walter Gross, the director of Germany's Bureau of Human Betterment and Eugenics. Germany, Nazis, eugenics. It's all coming together. He outlined Virginia's racial purity laws and asked to be put on a mailing list for bulletins from Gross' department. Plecker complimented the Third Reich by sterilizing 600 children in Algeria who were born to German women and black men. Now, right now, we're starting to get into the Nazi involvement in the eugenic Holocaust of the Afro-American. It's all going to come together, people. The Nazis actually won the war. The Nazis actually, through Operation Paperclip, were brought to America to help eugenically Holocaust the Afro-American. Continue. I hope this work is complete and not one has been missed, he wrote. I sometimes regret that we have not the authority to put some measures in practice in Virginia, although they did. In fact, Virginia had its own sterilization law, the Eugenical Sterilization Act, that was enacted the same year as the Racial Integrity Act. So they were trying to get rid of us. They were trying to kill all of us in order that they may keep this land, our birthright, which was given to us directly from God himself. Shame on them. It allowed the state to sterilize 7,000 people afflicted with hereditary forms of insanity that are recurrent idiocy. These words right here, feeble-mindedness and epilepsy. It's hard for me to read when I'm nervous. But anyway, even till today, these methods are being used. But the thing is, they've actually got us to kill ourselves through abortion, Planned Parenthood, and things of that nature. Which why in 2022, the whole abortion thing is suddenly coming to an end. God's will is being brought into effect one way or another before it's all over, all will bow down to the will of the Creator, the will of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the will of the God of the Bible. Idiocracy. Idiocy. I don't know. Imbecility. Feeble-mindedness and epilepsy. In 2015, the Virginia Assembly agreed to pay those who were forcibly sterilized $25,000 as compensation. Officials knew of only 11 victims who were still alive. As deplorable as Plecker sounds, in 2017, he was admired by many 7 decades ago. 3 days out, okay, more about that fake death. Let's see. Well, that's it for today. The Virginia Department of Vital Statistics. One more crucial step that was instituted to bring about the Holocaust and the genocide of the Afro-American people. But once again, y'all, until the next time, Focus Daily.